So Jen has the mobility method, an optimal body, and your post lately, how you've been organizing it, I totally loved. I've been telling everybody if they want to know how to truly like find, I think just flexibility of mind, heart, and soul, but you obviously are the leader right now in showing flexibility. I mean, this girl, you guys, I'm totally addicted to how flexible you are.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all about like how can we be functional within our flexibility and not have pain within our bodies, which we know goes deep.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly why I wanted to talk to you. And we've talked about really personal topics on here, but I know that you, through all the personal stuff you've gone through, and everyone on here can relate to this. Like we go through stuff and somehow in the end, it translates into more knowledge and more wisdom. And we're able to translate it to, if we're listening to spirit and we're listening to our intuition, we can translate it to, into what we do as a professional, especially when you're called to help people heal and to help people up level. And you've done such a beautiful job doing that. How are you feeling now compared to a couple months ago?
I mean, it's all been an incredible and amazing healing journey. That it's like one of the greatest experiences I've ever been through, which is so crazy to then at the end of the day say, and I know that sounds crazy. Yes, this is a Minnesota glass for my boyfriend. But yeah, I mean, just to be able to go through the entire process, really see where it's led me to, and really what I feel like is come back home, come back into me. And it's almost felt like I remember in the very beginning when immediately it was like this, like, oh my gosh, I knew, like this, my body, my intuition, like I knew. And what came back was like, I can trust me. Like, how incredible is that? Like this knowing inside, it's not made wrong, it's truth. And I can trust me. And so being able to take that out, it was like, oh, I'm psychic now. I can like drop it. I can call things before I see it.
Well, you've been psychic all along. We know that. And that's one of the things I love teaching. I mean, not only women, men too. Like we have this intuition, this guidance system. And those of you that don't know Jen, if you are just been following me and you're seeing her for the first time, we're not going to make this the main focus of today because we are moving on and we got things to do. But Jen went through a pretty public breakup, and it was a pretty painful experience, I think, and she and I related because I've gone through a similar experience, as have millions of people that you've been hearing from. It's been such a relatable, I think, evolution of self, and Jen has been very, very vulnerable and honest. It was a situation that involved infidelity, and it was with someone that was pretty well known, and so I think that she handled it with so much grace, and so many people have connected to you through it. But I really wanted to talk about, you know, as we talk through this, like how going through, not specifically even just that experience, but just knowing what you know from growing up and in school and working with your clients, and now you have life experience like everybody else. Like, I want to really explore why mind, body, spirit, soul, heart alignment really is key. And you're, of course, the physical alignment, like guru. So as you're looking at it now, and you had, the way I saw like part of my evolution through some of these like breakups that like tear you apart is I felt that I had, and I want to hear this from you. I feel like I had awakenings, like, you know, when I was in school, I had like a mental awakening, because then I learned more and I was going through all this, and you have a physical awakening when you learn how powerful your body is. And then, you know, maybe I've gone through a spiritual awakening, and obviously I think very commonly a spiritual awakening is tied to a relational and a heart awakening. Yeah. And you open up in all these different layers. Is that kind of, you had your experience similar to that at all?
I mean, totally. And this is even where I go back into what I do with clients and how I work with clients. And really, it's everything. I mean, if we're having pain, it's just our body's way of talking to us. And so it doesn't necessarily mean it's physical pain. And it doesn't necessarily mean if I aligned your body completely symmetrical, which is just not reality, it doesn't mean that the pain is going to go away. I can't guarantee, you know, a pain goes away just because I change the way that you stand or the way that your biomechanics work. It means it can help offload some things, but I can't necessarily mean that, especially chronic pain, things that continue to come up over and over again, are necessarily going to go away just because we align your body. So it really does have to go into what is your life looking like. And I do this with every single client. Like, it's hard to convey this on Instagram. I can't show you a sexy video of how I'm aligning to your mind and body connection. I have to show physical movement because it's going to bring you in. But the thing that's truly going to heal you is when you connect the two. And you connect the spirit and you connect your outer world, your greater environment, meaning sleep, food, you know, people you're connected and surrounded with. It all plays a role. And when we really start to be open to those experiences and where pain might have started, like what experience happened in your life when this autoimmune disease came on? What experience happened when this hip pain just started like screaming at you? You know, like what experience were you going through with your life when pain started happening? Mm-hmm. And if we can take a look at those experiences, then we can start to really, truly align and come back into our body.
How did you learn to do that? Because was that a part of your training, that kind of it's like Socratic dialogue about like the rest of their life and their whole life? Like, how did you learn to dig deeper instead of just staying in the physical situation at hand?
You know, it was hard because in school, you do very much learn how to diagnose pain, where the symptom is. Okay, I'm going to diagnose what that means. But we also get to understand that a diagnosis only confirms a symptom. It doesn't confirm the root cause. Just because I might confirm like, oh, look, I have a disc issue happening on an MRI, that doesn't mean that that's why you're having pain, because we can do surgery and have that disc issue resolved and you might still have pain. So where deeper is that happening? And that's where we got like a short quarter on pain science and how that's related to your whole neurological system and your brain, and about like being able to have conversations with clients, that where one of our professors just showed how he talked to a client for 6 visits. They didn't do any kind of physical stuff. And like sitting there on the 6th visit, she was like, oh my God, my hip pain went away. And just because he opened up space for her to be able to talk, not because he was trying to be a psychologist or a life coach or anything like that. He was just providing space, which a lot of people don't have in their lives. Like who can I trust that's just going to like hold space, not judge what I'm saying, like understand, you know, all these things. And so we got a short introduction to that, but then it was really like seeing how other friends were incorporating it into their practices and learning from other people, and then having my own experience. Like I do have scoliosis, and I talk about this all the time. You see me doing crazy handstand stuff. It doesn't hold me back. And I do get some like right shoulder pain that kind of comes back from time to time. And so my thing was, listen, like it might flare up, but when is it flaring up? And one of the times when it flared up, I got in a car accident, and everyone was fine, but immediately my right shoulder blade was like flared. And I could have in that moment been like, oh my gosh, I'm injured. This is bad. And that's what we do. And we send these cortisol like down into our body, and it only locks us up and guards us even more. So more spasms, more tightening, more restriction. But instead I was like, oh my God, how cool. Like I just got into an accident, so obviously I'm stressed. My right shoulder blade just flared up. Like I know I'm physically fine. Everyone's good. My car, maybe not so much, but like my shoulder blade flared up, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, because that's a response to the stress. Mm-hmm. And the moment that I was able to acknowledge it, it went away.
That's so, and if people would pay more attention to that, I mean, and you're right, autoimmune things, very, very definitely. Back pain always, and I'm the same way. Like it's, for me, I'm like, it's your root chakra. You know, when you're starting to feel unstable, if you relate it spiritually to the energy of your body.
Yes.
For me, like lower back pain, always a lack of security, a lack of being grounded, a lack of, you know, whatever it is. And I now know, and it's brilliant to pass that along, because you're teaching people such leading edge. I mean, it's new technology, it's body technology, it's spirit technology, and it's such an amazing thing, because really what it boils down to is pay attention to the way you're feeling, and look at like when it's being driven. And my guess is for you, so much of this, the reason I asked the question is because I kind of already knew the answer, that it's intuitive for you, that you like can intuit So tell me about that in your practice and just with yourself, like where your intuition comes in, because I think, especially like you and I both, you get a degree, we both got doctorates, and you're trained like very clinically, which you need that research, you need that foundation. But then as you go out, you realize, I liken it to like when you learn cursive when you're young and they make you follow this exact thing. And once you get out in the real world, you can make your own loop-de-loops and do however you want. And it's, you know, you create your own. So that's kind of what you do as a practitioner. You create after you learn the method. So how have you given yourself permission then to sometimes stray from what would be, not stray is a bad word, but somehow not just be totally grounded in clinical diagnoses, but be willing to explore something that might be heart or spirit or mind related, and let the patient or client veer away from totally focused on the physical? And tell me about that process.
For me, it's like a lot of like, okay, first of all, like I do look at the entire body, but I do it after I ask a lot of questions. So in PT school, you're also taught like you don't have a lot of time with clients, so get them back into their pain. What's their pain level at? What aggravates it? What eases it? Like everything that you need to document, basically, for insurance companies is what we're always like, draw it back, draw it back, draw it back, get them out of story. I let my patients go in a story. Tell me all the things. Like, please express it all, because I want to know when things are happening. Like even last week, I had a new client, and he's been dealing with a series of different kind of pains and things in his body. And he's gotten MRIs because he's like, I know that something is wrong. And he's like so badly wanting to see something. Like the MRI doesn't show anything. The doctor said everything is perfect, but it's not what I'm feeling. So how is this, like, how can that be? I keep going to different PTs and chiropractors, and no one's telling me what's happening because they say I'm fine, you know? And I'm like, okay, let's dig deeper. Eventually, I found out he had MS, which is a neurological disorder. And though he's very active, he's very great within his body, that's still like shocking and a little jarring to the nervous system, and something that he's not even acknowledging. Like, oh yeah, I know, but I have it, but I'm good. Well, great. You even get to acknowledge that. If you can, like, you don't have to worry about heat. You don't have to worry about all these other things that other people with MS have to worry about. Acknowledge it. Like, we take for granted these things that we have within our body, and we don't even acknowledge or take the time to appreciate a lot of the times. And then, you know, then we're almost searching, like, what is wrong? And we're looking for the pain thing that we need to fix, where it's like your body's actually working so incredibly well. You don't need to fix anything. It's working for you. You're still squatting. You're still doing all these things. Let's assess deeper why you could have pain, right? But just know, like, how can we acknowledge you along the way? How can we get you talking to your body differently along the way? So getting him back into a mindset on how that's connected with the body was huge. And then we did work around, like, I always do breath work, because breath work really helps to get you back into that. I do breath work to get back, like, turn on the parasympathetic. Yeah. Because if we can get you to rest and relax within the body, then there's not this guarding. And
I just took a deep breath. Everyone watching just took a deep breath. It's funny, just saying the word breath work, it's like, oh God, I think I've been holding my breath. Yeah. So
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the thing. We look at breath, and even when we say, oh, let's take a deep breath, we focus on the inhale, but we don't focus on the exhale. But what happens when we're in a stressful situation, it is an inhalation state. Shoulders go high, chest rises, and you hold. And everything gets tight because your body's on guard. So now imagine you're saying pain is bad. I shouldn't have pain. Why is this happening? Blah, blah, blah. And then we keep going back into it over and over. And all we're doing is shocking the system and telling it it's something terrible is happening. Right. I need to be on guard. I need to protect you. Da, da, da. And we don't actually, like, oh, hey, pain. Like, this is cool. You're talking to me. Like, what conversation do I need to have? What am I neglecting? Is it sleep? Is it eating patterns? Am I not moving enough? Am I, like, really restricted within my body? How can I start to talk with you rather than against you? And so really getting people back into their bodies through breath work. I've had so many clients that even when we focus more on the exhale, think of like going to get a massage, and we're like, that's the state that we want to draw people back into. Because all of a sudden, your body doesn't need to be tensed up. It doesn't need to release all the cortisol and adrenaline that's moving through, you know? So there's so many different processes that happen within the body that you can literally turn on that parasympathetic, get you out of that anxiety, that panic, that stress, that pain, and get you back into feeling, like truly feeling, you know? And I've had so many clients that just cry. They cry.
Well, I'm sure you're releasing, I mean, you're giving them permission to release, like, not only their muscle tension, but with that comes a great deal of emotion. And you're such a safe person to sit with, so they know. I'm always like, that when people start crying, do you find that they start apologizing? And I'm always like, never apologize for your emotions. I am honored when someone trusts me enough to cry in front of me. I'm like, you're giving me such a gift right now, because that means that you trust me. It's
but it
does.
So aligned on that. Yes.
Totally. And it's, you know, what I love, you said like a million things I wanted to comment on, the conversation with the body, you know, knowing that your cells are all talking to each other. You know, everyone here is like mind, body, soul, but you're explaining it in a way that really, I think, is done in a simple enough way that people can relate to it. Because I know right now people are having like ahas. You know, there's almost like this Buddhist perspective too, of like seeing the pain and not judging it, not putting that extra tension on it for it being there and fighting against it, but just relaxing into it, seeing it, acknowledging it, and asking how you can have a conversation and help heal it is so beautiful. And what I love too that you said is, this is, to me, always goes back to, it has to do with the intuition piece. I think people know, even though you have the expertise, like once you go back and you pull the layers back, okay, we know what your mom told you and the last doctor told you and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what, and tracing them back to the knowledge of when this thing happened, and what do you, to me, the question really is, but what do you really know? Like if we were just sitting here and you were giving me the knowledge, because I think we're all the experts on our body, it's just no one's given us permission to say. So I'm always teaching people, you medically are the number one. When you have it, always speak up. Because at the end of the day, when you peel all that back and stop feeling like you're not confident enough to really speak for your own body, having someone like you sit in the room and massage all the stuff out of the way, literally and physically, and, you know, literally and really just in conversation, you're giving permission for that exhale and that knowledge to come up.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what, like, people that are like, that listen to you, that'll be watching this later, what are some of the top reasons that people are holding pain in their body? Like some of the most common things that you see, and the root of them, like when you see, you know, just anything that might really trigger, like, oh, that could be me in people that you see a lot.
A lot of it that's happening is really the not trust. Like, and that was one of the biggest lessons for me that I learned coming out of the relationship. Like, and this is why I'm so grateful for the lessons I learned. And I almost like despise it now when people are like, it was a public thing. I'm like, it's not about that, because we all go through it, right? It's not about who he is or who he was or it was public or not. Like, I shared my experience because so many people go through it. And how can we connect and all learn? Because I don't believe that we also need to hit rock bottom in order to learn. My journey, personally, I did, learned, and it was amazing, and I'm super grateful for it. But I think if you're able to listen to other people's journeys and take that in, then you can start to assess it yourself. You know, that's what you teach people. That's what I'm now teaching people, how to just listen. And one of the, like, a lot of it that comes up again and again is just, first of all, with women, I see especially, it's like in this day and age where we have to be, where we get to be, I mean, it's amazing, right? We get to be powerful and hardworking and make all this money and be our own bosses and do all this stuff and be an amazing wife and take care of the kids. And like it, like, and it just, it's this buildup that you might not even realize that it's stress. Yeah. And then I know a lot of women, even if we're not talking about pain, I can't release weight, I can't do all these things. Have you tapped into your parasympathetic? Because again, rest, relax, digest doesn't happen unless you're in your parasympathetic. Cortisol causes inflammation within the body. So even if you're like not, I mean, not that it's going to add fat, but like just feeling bloated and inflamed and all these things, stress. So how can we start to take time that actually comes back into our lives where it's just for you? Start with like 10 minutes before you go to bed and place your hands on your low rib cage and try breathing to the sides rather than up. Try breathing rather than shoulders. Try breathing here in your rib cage where your diaphragm rests, and breathe slowly from your nose and focus on a long exhale. Like I have clients who do this 10 minutes. This is like always my request, at least 10 minutes before you go to bed, throughout the day if you can, but at least 10 minutes before you go to bed. And I have people that fall asleep like that, who usually have pain, problems, you know, difficulties, and it releases everything so you can get back into your body and not feel all the things, especially if someone new and resistant to meditation or anything like that. It's like, this is your introduction. Listen to your body. The other things I see a lot, like I had one client and she was like, I used to see clients on Mondays, and she was like, like over the weekend it was better, and I was like, dang it, I'm going to go see Jen. I want it to be bad again. And I'm like,
it's interesting.
Okay, let's
assess
with
the problem.
Like, yeah. So I was like, okay, so let's just see. And I just asked questions like, what happened Monday through Friday that you think could be different from Saturday, Sunday?
Right.
And she was like, well, not sitting at my job, not doing this. And I'm like, yes, okay. But were you not sitting at home? Were you not sitting in a car? Were you not sitting other places? You probably were. So again, what could be different? She's like, oh, work, stress. I'm like,
yeah, you think?
Bingo. So just being able, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Like, I want to help assist you to it, because if I just tell you like where your pain is coming from or what's happening, first of all, you're not going to believe me. Yeah. You're not going to really feel it. And there's not going to be any motivation to want to see how we can treat it differently.
That's so beautiful. And I'm so glad you're saying that, because I think bells are going off for people, because I think we do that no matter what kind of practitioner we go to. And you and I both know, like words don't teach. I mean, your own self-awareness and your own light bulb moments and your own experience are what are going to inform you. But people, you know, and they're getting a quick fix. Like, people resist that, like you're saying. And it's, it's a powerful, very wise practitioner who is going to do with you what Jen is doing. And that is not just bark things at you, which later you'll get in your car and go, oh, that might be BS, but guide you to it and show you the root of it. And not show you, let you explore and have the aha where you're saying, oh my gosh, because, you know, your intuition, when that opening comes, or you've got a portal of wisdom that then is coming in. So when I was thinking, when you were talking about the exhale and the breathing into your belly and your diaphragm, especially for women, because we're taught to like suck our stomach and all day, and we hold tension there. So to give yourself permission to let your belly out, I mean, girls, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it's freedom, and there's a liberation in it. And then your body says, okay, thank you. Like now, and I think also when you're doing that, you're getting a fluidity in your body that you haven't been let happen. And your physical mobility, I mean, this is speaking to everything that you do, then encourages your mental and spiritual and heart fluidity. When I started doing Pilates, I mean, I have to stretch out every day. So I'm like, I love all your stuff. I practice it all the time. I can tell a huge difference that I am much more spiritual, wiser, happier person when I'm letting, and I know, and nobody like taught me this, I just know that it's like the elongation of my muscles is letting toxins flow, which then is giving permission to the rest of my system.
Yeah. Oh, so much. Yeah. And I mean, our bodies are fluid. We need fluids to be moving, and you know, that doesn't happen when we're in stress. It doesn't happen if we sit all day long. It doesn't happen if we're eating really poor foods that increase inflammation, like if we're not drinking enough water, if we're not sleeping. So if we can go back just into the basics, like if you're doing those things, you're getting fluids to move. And the other thing, like there's no one else is going to fix you. Like I'm not a practitioner that's going to put magic hands on you and fix you. Like I will facilitate. And if you feel a difference when you get off the table, it's because I talked to your nervous system and I allowed it to calm down for a minute. So massage, adjustments, I can do all those things and they feel great. And I do a lot of them because it helps me to get into your nervous system, but know that's temporary relief. Yeah. No one is fixing you. That they're covering up a Band-Aid and they're fixing the symptom. Right. But unless you're moving into it yourself, you're assessing what's happening, you're getting down to the root cause, like I can help facilitate you there, but you got to go on the journey with me.
Love that. You got to have action. You got to have allowance, the personal allowance. You're right. I love that because you can't hand it over to anyone else. And that's so powerful. You know, I was watching one of your interviews today on, I forget the name of the interviewer, but you were talking about in your kind of grief process with the recent loss that you had, you weren't working out as much. You actually stopped. And I'm bringing this up because I think it is going to be such a relief for people to hear. That you listen to what your body needs. Like for me, like sometimes I want to lift weights, and this is for everybody, not just me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to do stretching. Sometimes I really need just to go on a run and just bang it out. You know, sometimes I just need to take a nap. You were talking about when you were going through your grief process that you actually slow down your workouts and you know, eating often slows down then too for many reasons. But I think just putting that out there lets people know that even you, who is a PT, and I mean, if you see your body's amazing, you know, you're someone that people strive to look like and admire. You, even in times when you need to go into kind of hibernation, you allow your body to hibernate and process. So can you like talk about that a little bit, about paying attention to what your body needs, no matter what the person's experiencing and the recovery they're going through, but talk about that knowledge that you have now.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was a huge thing. And I talked to a somatic coach during that time, and she asked me, like, are you working out? Are you moving? What are you doing? And I said, I'm working out way less right now, but it feels like this is what my body needs. Like if I go to the gym and kill it, I can do that, but that doesn't feel like it's healing for me right now. And for a lot of people, that might be opposite. You know, if you go and you run and you do all these things, it feels incredibly healing. At the time, me actually allowing myself to rest and not work out, like that is a habitual pattern for me. That is my lifestyle, is movement. So allowing myself to take time to lay and to relax and to say, this is what my body needs right now, and I'm in total and 100% acceptance. She was like so happy. She was like, yes, I am so happy to hear that, because we need to be able to listen to our bodies and go into what we need, rather than, you know, what we think we're supposed to do or what someone else is telling you to do. And your body is so freaking powerful. And I say this in this way all the time as well. It's like, in conversation, we have three parts of a conversation for me. We have the external conversation, which is what someone else is talking and putting on us, which people put on you a lot of things, like, oh, what your genetics is, what you're passed down from your mom and from your dad, or what the doctor said. And like, people put these beliefs on us and on our bodies all the time. And then there's the internal conversation, which is what we're taking in, how we're absorbing it, what we're listening to, what we're interpreting within our body, and what we're making that to believe. And then the part that I think we're all never focusing on is the listening portion. Because in conversation, I listen and I say, you're worth listening to. But what are you doing? When are you doing that for your body? Like, you're worth listening to. Yeah. And I wasn't doing that last year when I was completely out of alignment, like allowing myself to fall into, like, yes, it was a toxic relationship, but I was becoming a toxic person within that relationship. I wasn't reacting from a place of love anymore. Because I was so triggered and upset and like didn't understand, like, I don't understand. Why isn't this moving forward? Why isn't this? And I'm like trying to force something that wasn't happening. And eventually my body got shingles. And that was a huge wake up call for me to be like, oh, like, I know that I was feeling a sort of out of alignment, but I wasn't really listening to that. And then I was like, okay, therapy. Like, so I listened and I was like, okay, therapy. And so I tried doing that, still not really listening to, like, you're powerful enough to truly trust yourself. It's not right. You can walk away. And I didn't trust that at the time.
So many people, it's not just women, can relate. You know, I will say the biggest hit that I've gotten on things I put out is how to know if you're in a toxic relationship. And I mean, people are crying out for it. And, you know, oftentimes when it's this narcissistic, empathic, the narcissist and the empath will start doing these dances, and it becomes like it's happened to so many people. And I think when you're in it, you get so, you just become so brainwashed. And the person, they're operating, man, I'm not saying this to shame anyone, because people operate from their own paradigm, which is based on fear and based on their own level of self-confidence or need to be congratulated in the word or whatever it is. And that's because of the life that they had before you. And so they're coming with their stuff, you're coming with your stuff. But when someone that has narcissistic tendencies, that likes to have their light fed, comes across someone that's a light feeder, an empath, and someone that likes to take care of people, you know, that can be, it's just, I've seen it so many times over and over again. And we kind of have this belief system where we're taught to take care of everybody. And like, I mean, the turning down of the intuition is so common. And I love that you're putting this forward, because it's like, ladies, you always know. And I love that now you're in a place of gratitude for that even very painful experience. Just like, I mean, I wouldn't change anything about any relationship I've been through, because it makes you so wise. But the wisdom comes when you have that aha moment, when you acknowledge, like, but here's my big thing. Don't put guilt on yourself. Yeah. Don't put blame on yourself. Like, we're not going to stay a victim. Let's just talk about the emotional experience. We can help other people and we can be the bridge. But let's not stay, because when you put guilt on top of it, or like shaming yourself, I should have, would have, could have, you're dropping to a seriously low vibration, which is going to like cause so much pain. I know I've had shingles too. I mean, it's such a, like, your body will be like, whoosh, you know, the back pain, or you break a foot and your body's like, you need to sit your ass down and rest for like, you got a few months to go. It happens to so many people, or you get an acne breakout, or just whatever it is. I mean, I've gotten psoriasis and it's autoimmune again. And even now, like when I get in a stressful situation, I'm like, I just start itching like a dog. And I'm like, dang it. But I see, just like you said, having that knowledge of when that flare up happens. And the key is, like you're saying, and you've said it so beautifully, looking back, you know that you knew, like the early signs. And it's not just about that relationship or specific breakups. It's everyone's been through this. And it could be an unhealthy job. It could be an unhealthy family member that's keeping you in a very toxic cycle. When your body is in pain, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually, and you're being blocked from a flow of ease and love and joy, and someone having an alignment with you, or a job being aligned with you, whatever it is, that paying attention to your body. So I want to know from you specifically, like, looking back at like a year ago, what did you not fully accept or know about your, like, about you and how amazing you are, that you know now? Like, what are you now? This is a big thing for me. Yeah. How can you brag on yourself now? What do you know about yourself? I think this empowers women and men to hear people really express where they know their true power and wisdom is, instead of silencing it. So what do you know about yourself now that you maybe weren't fully aware of a year ago? Yeah.
I mean, really, that, like, trust was the biggest thing that came for me. And that was such a beautiful lesson, to be like, oh, I can trust me. That intuition, that gut feeling when I meet someone and it feels off, or I'm in a relationship that feels off, or like, it doesn't mean that, like, and understand too, I'm not saying like, oh, you have to leave when that happens. I'm saying something's coming up, you need to dive into that, and don't let someone tell you you're crazy, or, you know, all these other things that might come along with it. If you know something to be true, speak into it. And if you're feeling it, like, you can trust that, you know? And so really leaning in and being able to say, oh, I can trust me. I can trust myself. Like, it was is such a powerful lesson, and the thing I'm most grateful for ever. And it allowed me to just, like, step in and be like, this is me. Take it or leave it. Like, I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything anymore. Like, I'm not going to try to please just to be liked or whatever. Like, I know my people, like, and it's because I'm fully showing up authentically, vulnerably as me. And I'm not afraid to do that anymore, because I can trust me and I know who I am. And I also knew leaving that relationship, like, because what happens a lot of times too, it's not only the shame, right? But it's the, I'm not good enough. Like, what was wrong with me? Everyone cheats. Everyone does this. And for me, it was like, no, because I don't. Yeah. And I'm in integrity, and I don't lie, and I have lots of love to give. And I know, and I know, and I know that I can find someone that is a mirror for me in that. And I held on to that, and it came.
So I love that. So you opened the door on it. So I'm going to walk in that little door. So of course, along with so many people that watch you, like, it's just been beautiful seeing this new relationship emerge. What feels different to you? Yeah, talk through that. Tell me, because I think this needs to be a witness to people to, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what is not in alignment? How does not in alignment look compared to how does in alignment look? And so you have, you know, we're talking through mind, spirit, body, how everything is showing up. So when you find something that matches you, again, it could be a job, it could be a house, it could be a relationship. For now, we're going to discuss relationship. How could you tell what was different for you? How could you tell that it was in alignment instead of out of alignment?
I mean, from day one of just being able to dive into all the goodies right away, like we dove into, like he's a physical therapist as well, so we dove into how we treat and neurological and connection and human connection and really and like breath work and all these, and I'm like, what, you do that too? Like you too? It was very different. And then diving into, you know, spirituality talks, like that could be weird, like with religion and where we're at and what we believe, and talked about travel and family and like all these, like it was crazy, and it was like, what is happening right now? And then just allowing, like I was not in a place to meet anyone. If like, yes, I will admit the elephant in the room, right? It happened really quick. It was like a little over 2 months after. So really quick. And yet like I allowed, okay, I'm not making this anything. I'm not like, this is my person, but I'm going to lean in and get to know this person. And the more that I leaned in, and the more that I allowed and I got to know this person, it was incredible, you know, and it just continued to blossom and ease and flow. And I was like, okay, let me lean in more. Yeah. And I was also not afraid to like, to say what I wanted, to stand in who I am. And it didn't scare him. And I also was very open and vulnerable. Like I had a lunch this one time with this one woman who told me more stories about things I didn't know from my past relationship. And, you know, it triggered this like betrayal again. Yeah. And so I called him and talked to him and just said, listen, like, you don't need to walk this journey with me. I am going through waves of healing, and it's going to show up in different forms, and I could be triggered, and it has nothing to do with you, but I am still healing. And I just want to let you know, because you don't have to be along this journey with me. And he was incredible and was totally open and allowing. And
what did he do right, Jen? What did he do right? Like, what is that for someone that hasn't had that? Because so many people have never had that. What does that look, feel, and sound like when someone handles something like that beautifully? So specifically, what did he do right?
I mean, he completely just listened and held space, even got emotional with me, and just said, like, I'm here. Like, that doesn't scare me. I'm not going away. And just held space. Like, there has been another time when I've been triggered, like it reminded me of the past, and I went quiet, and he just went quiet with me and danced with me and didn't force me to talk, allowed me to talk when I'm ready, and just hold space. Like, he holds space so beautifully and doesn't make it about him, doesn't take it personally, and allows it to be my own experience. And I think that's such a beautiful thing when we don't make up stories. And the best way to not make up stories is to be open and be vulnerable. And that's why I had to tell him, like, I have to be open and real. Like, I am not done healing. And I am, like, going through a betrayal and manipulate. It's a whole mind game. Mm-hmm. So coming back from that, like, it doesn't mean that I miss my old relationship or I miss that. It means that I'm on this road of recovery mentally. Yeah. And, you know, and so being able to be vulnerable and open with that allows him not to take it personally, not to make up stories, not to make it about himself. And if we can just lean in and be like, lay it all out there, because here's the thing, everyone's going through some kind of healing journey. It doesn't matter if it was like from when you're 5 or now. It doesn't matter. We're all continuing to grow. We're all continuing to level up and in some kind of way and learn things. And so being able to be open with wherever you're at so that the other person doesn't take it and make it about them it will help you so much to learn how to communicate better, to be more loving in a relationship, to and to just not make up stories. Like, stories just don't serve us.
That was so amazing. I feel like I'm in a warm bathtub right now of love. So let me, I have a million things I want to ask you. I won't ask you all of them. So when you met, someone popped up the question, how did you meet? I know people ask you that. People do love that story.
Yeah.
So I know it was on a dance floor, but can you just tell us exactly, like, were you, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were at a physical therapy conference, actually. We're both doctors of physical therapy. And I was speaking at this conference the next day. I came in on Friday night, and we all went out to dinner, and then we ended up going out because we were in Austin. And it was so funny because I was exhausted that night. And so I was with the girls, and I was like, let's just go back to the hotel. As soon as we walk out on the street, you hear like music, and I was like, maybe we go out for a little bit. And so we ended up going out, meeting up with a group of people, which he happened to be a part of. And eventually throughout the night, we're like dancing together, but like he like leads in dancing. So it was like fun and like different. And then he ended up walking me back to my hotel, and that's when we talked and just got to know each other on a real human level, and it was really just beautiful. And then from there we just continued to to talk, and yeah, it was I mean, and then the first time he came out to LA, like, this is the other thing, don't hold on to expectations. Like, we had no idea what the weekend would be like together in LA, and we just like allowed, and it was like, it flowed like water. It was like, oh my God, is this real life?
I love that. And I'm a big believer in you can create what you want. I mean, there are so many rules. I'm breaking a bunch of rules right now. I'm dating a much younger guy that's like German, has tattoos everywhere, but
I love it.
But I do too. But it's, you know, you can create whatever you want, and there are always going to be reasons why it shouldn't work. But when you have that sense of someone, when you feel, and you know, it's not just the physical. Yes, the physical attraction, you know, is a huge key in the beginning, but when you just feel like this person is different, like you know them very quickly, you know, you have that soulmate attraction that's like I've known, it's only been a few weeks, you've shared like life stories, and you have a sense of safety, right? And they feel like home. And it's to me, there's like, I mean, crazier things have happened than 2 months later. And it's, I love the word that you keep using, which is allowance. And for me, one of the things that I'm always teaching is following what feels good. And, you know, it's, I mean, in a spiritual way, not in a narcissistic way. But if your soul calls you, I mean, and you actually spoke through it beautifully. You heard the music, you would decide to turn left. And so I talk about your spiritual nudges feel like impulses. Go here, go there. And so you heard the boom, 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 and you were like, okay, let's go here. So you were following your spirit's voice, which, by the way, your spirit was going to lead you to him no matter what, somewhere. If it wasn't that night, it would have been the next day. I mean, it was, the universe was in full collaboration with you. But it, you know, you followed your soul's voice, and then you allowed, instead of, Michael Singer talks about in The Untethered Soul, which I just reread, how we close up, right? And of course, when we're healing, we need to do some internal, some hibernating, like we've talked about, and there needs to be some healing so that we're ready to present ourselves to the world when we're traumatized. But once the trauma starts to subside some, and we're able to hear that music and walk into a room and be like, all right, and we can open our heart to allowing, you can create whatever you want. You don't have to be on anyone else's timetable. What works for your sister or your coach or whoever is not your prescription for how you're going to be following the next year. It's what feels right. And if it feels right, and how beautiful that you were able to be different, I would imagine. You were able to be vulnerable. You were able to just say, hey, here's who I am in the flesh. Like, this is my process. You have the choice now to either walk with me or not. My most hit on quote I published last week, and I didn't write it, but it said, imagine if someone didn't use your past against you, but instead used it as a guide to know how to love you. And as you were talking,
that gives me chills. I like that.
Yeah, all over it, because it's like, oh, can you imagine if someone didn't like punish you, especially men when ego can get involved, you know, whoever you dated before and they feel threatened or whatever, and instead just be like, go into their own light that matches yours and not let ego lead. I mean, when you find someone like that, that can hold your past and not take it personally and walk with you, I mean, that is so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled for you. You're in a place now where obviously you're taking it one day at a time. And okay, so let's talk about this. So I feel like when you get, it's like something clicks into alignment when you find a relationship. Now I know, because I know you well enough to know that you weren't desperate for it. You're not relying on it. You're not doing things because of, but it is a component now, and it is part of what is going on with your story now. So how is that piece of just kind of aligning with someone on a heart level, it helping to help you feel in alignment in your life? And yeah, how is it affecting your life?
Allowing flow even more. Things falling into place, new business ideas falling into place. It's like all levels, and the things that mean the most to me. Like for me, it isn't necessary. Like business is amazing, and I'm going to continue, and because it's helped and inspired so many people. Yes. Yeah. And that's like what it's purposely driven from. So that's a value to me. But family and friends are such a huge value to me. Like I'm such a loyal person, and when I have those friends and family, like they are everything. And I grew up like that. So he falls in perfect alignment with that. Like already been on a family vacation with me. I think my mom might marry him before I do. like so incredibly amazing. I think in my last 4.5-year relationship, 2 double dates with my friends throughout the whole time. And then in this one, it's almost every weekend. Like every weekend we're hosting people. We have people over. He's an amazing chef, so he cooks incredible things for people. So it just, and like when he moved to LA, and when he got here, my friends threw us this huge like welcome to LA party for him. And I mean it was a surprise for both of us. So like he like falls into my life, like, and even when I go to Minnesota, I feel like just ease with his family and friends, and there's just this alignment that I've never experienced before. I never knew was possible. Yeah. You know, sometimes it's like, okay, like they're not going to get along, and that's okay. And just making things okay and okay and okay, even though it meant the most to me. Like family means the most to me. It's not okay for them not to get along. So really being in a space where that is okay now, and that's happening. It's like the most like no pain in my body. My right shoulder blade feels great. Like it's just in all ways there's alignment, and it will ease and flow and allow.
Well, it's flow. You know, I've been looking a lot at like twin flame and soulmate relationships, and what happens, and Abraham Hicks teaches this about what you're talking about. You're describing alignment with yourself, and what's happening when I love this description of love, that when you find that love with a soul that matches yours, first of all, it means that you're in a place where you're allowing it, because your like is going to attract like. So when you're ready to attract it, I mean, there was no coincidence that happened. It wasn't the wrong time or too early. I mean, people are going to say whatever they want to say. It was exactly the right time. Exactly. There was an allowance and a level of light that matched, and it was just inevitable. But I love this description of love. Love, even though it is about the vibration of the person and the energy of the person, actually what they say it actually is that because you have such an ease and an alignment with them, that you're actually opening yourself up to see yourself the way that God, source, whatever word you want to use, your higher self sees you. So you're actually able to finally lean into a reflection of how God really feels about you. And that's what love actually does for you. Where when we're contracted, we close off that true feeling of love for ourselves. When that person and it doesn't have to be with the person, but when you do find it, it expands that feeling of self-love so much that you're actually just reflecting self-love within each other. And that is like the joy that you're feeling, which is supposed to be our set point. We just have a really hard time doing that. But I feel when you're talking, and I know you can feel this with people too, I feel so much expansion. I mean, you guys, you can see that when you started talking about him, obviously you lit up, you totally expanded. It's such a beautiful thing to see. So I want to tell everybody here, when you feel yourself do that about whatever it is in your life, somewhere you want to vacation, somewhere you want to live, a person that you really want to be with, you will feel yourself go from this to like you will light up, and your soul will visibly expand in front of whoever's witnessing you. And that is soul direction, like guidance, like 100%. this is the right thing, no matter what anyone else's opinion is. Like, it's beautiful to see.
Thank you. And I do think it's like such like, there is this home connection, but I don't think you get to have that until you find that here.
Completely. So talk about that. I want we can end on this. So go.
Yeah, because it's going to cut us off soon. But yeah, like I found home when
my connection with her just went. I just lost her. Is it cutting us off? Oh, shoot. It did cut us off. Darn it. Okay, if you're still talking, I actually can't hear you, and I'm so bummed because that was going to be such a great way to end it. Okay, well, I think, yeah, Instagram cut us off. I'm going to speak to that really quickly, that the alignment with yourself, with knowing who you are without being reliant on the relationship, without being reliant and or in desperation of the relationship, where you get to a point, in my opinion, of when you actually are okay without it, but then you're always wanting to have that feeling of being in a relationship, the healthy part of it. And so manifesting who you want in your life and manifesting the feeling that you really want to have is completely healthy. But once you get to a point, the universe hears when it's desperate, and the universe is just going to send you someone else that's desperate, and you're going to have the same kind of pattern. But once you can get to that place of ease where you really love spending time like with yourself, you can still want the relationship. What I did was I started manifesting, sitting down and really self-value. Yes, you have to, it's the self-confidence piece where you're not blaming yourself for whatever's happened in your past. You're not taking on the blame or the guilt from whatever just occurred, but where you've released it and you've come into a place of self-love. To me, that is true spiritual awakening, when you come into a place of self-love, because that is alignment with your whole body, your mind, body, heart, and soul. And that's what I've seen Jen find. And I'm so grateful for her oh, it's Jen. This is funny. She's coming back on real quickly. Her phone got too hot, she says. Okay, that is hilarious that your phone got too hot. Is it going to let her on? Yeah. Oh my
Hi.
God. How funny that your phone got too hot. That's actually like energy.
Oh. I was like, oh, dang it.
Okay, go for it. Give us your self-alignment, self-love.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, learning the lessons out of it, being super honest with myself and forgiveness. So like you were saying in the very beginning, like not shaming yourself, like, why didn't I walk away? Why was I in that, but actually forgiving myself. So saying like, I forgive myself for, I forgive myself for not walking away sooner. I forgive myself for not listening to my body. I forgive myself for whatever it may be, like whatever you're feeling that like regret or whatever it is, like it's not regret, there's blessings. Yeah. There's gratitude. So really being in that space.
When you can get to that place of gratitude, I mean, it takes a little while. I mean, everyone's on a different path, but when you can finally feel it, even though you can still get triggered. I still get triggered. And I mean, some of it's been decades ago. You have that moment again, like observe it. Okay. Like here's the moment. Here's why. Here's what it just stirred up in me. And what it stirs up in you is really rarely about that person. It's the unworthiness and why was I discarded, or why, so just observe. And then I find it much easier to see it leave and not like attach, when I'm just gentle with it and I acknowledge it instead of, like you were saying, fighting it. And when you can find that tribe, like you said, that holds space for you, especially if you can find another partner that does that. I mean, I'll tell you what, that's the cherry on the sundae. And I've 100%. Loved.
And that's the other thing too, like it's going to come in waves. Like, just like you said, you get triggered sometimes. So do I. I had one night where, like, full transparency, I like started crying because I was around a lot of people that were involved in that past space. And it brought up a lot. Like, the thing that I still work on resentment for is just that, like, where's the ownership, where's the responsibility? Like, my mind is still processing a lot of it. So that I still will get triggered by. And I had a night of, like, I wrote out what I resent, what I'm grateful for, what I resent, what I'm grateful for, what I resent, like, and I can go through all these things. Does that mean that I'm like, yes, I can hold gratitude and still need to release? And so I had a night of just like crying, and luckily this guy, he can sleep through anything. And I just asked him to hold me, and he had no idea I was even crying, but it was perfect because he held me and didn't ask questions, didn't need to know why. I mean, mainly because he didn't know I was crying, but he was like still sleeping.
Yeah.
But it was perfect, and it was like,
his soul knew, though, by the way. His soul knew exactly.
Yeah, he did, because he still held.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's so, and so how great that you asked for what you need. And I think that gives, again, great relief to so many people that have been through it, and you feel strong. And then it could be months, it could be years later, something triggers you, and you're talking about, I know, like the allegiance of other people, and anyone that's gone through a big breakup, like that is really hard. I think there are multiple layers. You break up with the person, the family, and then you have all the friends. Yeah. And you as a human want people to take sides, and you feel betrayed again. It's another layer of betrayal, and you go on.
Yeah.
Especially if someone has any kind of place of power, and you see them still attaching themselves to that person, and it hurts. But, you know, as we've talked about this before, you know, I had to keep going through, and this is part of the process. It's not about me. Yep. That is about them. I know you've done the same thing. So as you're going through any kind of loss period and you feel that, like, I could just consistently say to yourself, that is about them. That is not about me. That's not a reflection of me. That's not, I can't, again, like one of the 4 agreements, don't take things personally. Yes. I'm not going to take this personally. Damn, it hurts. And why doesn't everybody get on my side? And don't they know the truth? And if they knew the truth, why are they doing that? Like, people are so shallow. Like, yeah, it stirs all that. Yeah. But they're not having that experience. Right. And that's about them. And it is, I will say, it is a training and of a practice of releasing, allowing the emotion to come in, seeing it, and letting it go. Because if it stays in your body, doctor, tell us what'll happen to you if you keep that resentment in your body. Oh, it builds up over time. And the places that you actually